Again, we'll do a test on the audio. It's cold as heck in my house too, in the basement. All right.
Nice.
Let some people filter in here quick.
Hoping mine stays cool. We've got the worst setup here because it's like
That
a long, narrow townhouse kind of setup.
yeah.
And when they put in the central air in a 60-year-old building, they put the monitors for the back two rooms, and I'm in one of the back two rooms.
Yeah.
They put the monitor in the front hallway.
What?
So if they've got the AC on up there, it doesn't kick on back here because it says, "Oh, it's 72 degrees," and meanwhile
Right.
I'm back here just.
Right. All right, we got some
So
people filtering in. ZSM Sports, Rodolfo, Tom, all sweaty. What's going on, guys? Let's make sure the sound is good on Ivan's end.
Sweaty's here. Sibilance, sweaty. STFU sweaty. Always the number one poll choice in any Twitter poll.
Yes, our man, all sweaty giveaways. Make sure you go follow him. They say we're good.
Not
Audio's
only so,
good.
here's the funny thing about sweaty. Can we talk smack about people on here?
Sure.
Um, it's not even smack. It's actually a positive thing. I just didn't know if we
Right.
could riff about others in the community. You mentioned in the pre-interview, it's all about me. I don't want it to be all about me.
Well.
So Sweaty's so cool. Here's how cool Sweaty is. He's so cool that there's a polar bear in his fridge. No, wait, wrong. So I live in Los Angeles, pretty big metropolitan area, and he follows giveaways. Not even because he's like selfish. Here's the thing: he's one of the least selfish people
Oh
I know,
yeah.
but he does a bunch of giveaways. So there's a lot of things that are like marketing companies do in like Los Angeles and New York that they don't do for the broader country. Like, hey, in the next hour, we're delivering free pizzas, to promote this show. Sweaty has sent me pizza. He has won and sent me a evaporator mister with cool oils. He sent me unfortunately there was no alcohol in it,
Right.
but there was like an alcohol shaker set that he won
Nice.
to promote some TV show. He's constantly like, "Hey man, are you home? Somebody's gonna come by in 30 minutes." But that's just how freaking cool of a guy Sweaty is. And
Oh,
just
that's awesome.
one more just thing about what's great about the hobby, and
Oh
social
yeah.
media.
No, absolutely, man. Yeah. In fact, I'm pretty sure I remember that time when the pizza was delivered to you, or it was on its way to you, or something. There was some interaction I do recall about pizza being sent to
Yeah,
you.
so actually the pizza's a funny one because I wasn't home.
Yes.
And so Sweaty went out of his way to go on and like make sure that the pizza guy delivered it to some homeless gentleman down the street.
What's up, little man?
You like you like that purple monster? He's looking at your screen.
Oh yeah.
like
He likes the setup.
I like my
Or you like
Go get some of your juice.
I bet you
promise
you're
him
just
some of
seeing
their
your
rainbow juice.
dad. I bet you're just seeing your dad, and he's like, I like that guy right there, sitting in his lap. I like that guy. I like that guy.
Sorry about that. So the other fun news in the Ivan household is that during quarantine, the children have broken every lock on the internal doors. They've got those like cheaper door handle locks.
Yeah.
The kids have broken them. So even though my door was locked, he's just like, if I hang from it and twist, it'll be great. So.
All right. Well, I'm trying to let a couple more people roll in here. I don't know if people just because of the late timing or what, but let's dive into it. Let's get started. They're saying the sound is good, so let's give it a go here. All right, guys. Hey, I want to welcome y'all to another episode of In Depth with Defness. Tonight, I have a special guest, Ivan L., also known as Watch the Breaks or The Breaks. How you doing tonight, Ivan?
I'm doing great, Defness. Thanks for having me on.
Actually, no, I want to thank you for joining me and wanting to be a part of this in depth here. So I appreciate that. Are you ready to get in depth tonight?
I almost am, actually. I realized a couple of other slight technical issues. Where am I supposed to be watching this?
On YouTube.
YouTube. Okay. I follow you on YouTube. Give me just a second to log in there because I know that some people in chat are going to want to get my goat about some things. Is it I am Defness?
Nope. You're just gonna. That's the Twitter, so it's just DEFNESS Defness 45.
Oh,
There's
cool.
no I am. That's the Twitter.
Yep. Oh, live right now. Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta watch an ad real quick. Hold on. I see how you do, Def. It's okay. It's one of those 5-second ads, so
yes, you can skip it. Yeah, you can skip it. You don't have to.
Okay. Yeah, donuts. All Sweaty mentioned donuts did arrive and were in great condition. Absolutely love the
guys.
There's so many things. He sent like 5 things here.
Guys, can you also share this out because of the timing? I think people are a little off because I typically do these at 6 or 7. So I'm sure people are like, maybe Def's just taking this week off, even though we've been talking about it the last couple days, pumping it out there. So you let me know when you're ready, Ivan, and we'll start.
Oh, well, the host of the show just said I need to tweet it out, so that's all. It's okay.
No, you're good.
Actually, so here's a funny thing. So people know that I'm Ivan. They know that I'm Watch the Breaks.
Yes.
But I realized, much to my own embarrassment, I was sitting here about an hour ago, and I almost tweeted out like a suggestion or a poll. Like I don't. All I know is Defness. And my guess,
Jeff.
if I had to bet $10. I'd bet Charlie.
Jeff.
Yep.
With Charlie.
With a J or
with
a
G?
With
a J.
Okay. Jeff. Okay. I now that you say it, I knew it somewhere way back in the depths of my soul, but
even though I know your full last name, Ivan L, it's just remember Jeff D. There you go, Jeff D. I'll give you that, but I'll give you the full last name too.
Is that where the Defness comes from?
Yeah, well, yes.
Like
So there was a nickname. Yeah, there's a whole story behind that, too, that goes back years and years ago that switched from one deaf name to another deaf name, and we just kind of stuck with it. Everybody used to just call me that growing up, so it's something that stuck with me, and I just kind of ran with it. So, but anyway, enough about me.
Speaking of deafness, you were telling me that you are deaf now?
Pretty much.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, my ear is I got a ruptured eardrum. So I got some static ringing in one ear, but I still got good sound through the other. So we'll get through this thing. I'm doing all right.
Awesome.
I'm living.
Well, I got my tweet out, so I am ready to give you my full attention. Even though in true collector style, I'm also midway through an eBay listing on my phone, but I'm going to put that down.
Well, I just want to, for the record, and I'll mention this again at the end of this, as I do with every guest, but your Twitter, your Instagram, your eBay link, and GoGTS is actually, everything is down below in the description for you. So all your stuff, your eBay store, everything's linked in there. So you're
that's awesome.
So make sure you guys go check out his store. Make sure you guys, if you're not following him, follow him on those platforms. So I got
That's
you,
really
man.
cool.
I got you.
Nice.
I'm on top.
The eBay link is a nice touch, man. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. I see a couple cards in there that I might be grabbing up too. A couple Viking cards. So.
Well, I made the mistake of opening up the blasters of Court Kings.
Oh, I saw that. Beautiful.
Sold.
Those Zions.
But I did get some beautiful hits. I don't think I'll get my money back, but for the fun and what I did get, it's pretty awesome.
I can't believe how expensive those things are. I mean, I get it, the Zions. I was
So
looking,
here's the rub with
$170.
Here's the rub with that. Well, it's 170 like now in the secondary market. So that's the money I could have made.
Right.
But people forget, I talk a lot about money and flipping and value. Part of that's because my job is in a segment of economics and it just fascinates me. I am very happy that I've probably lost about $300 on these blasters, but still pulled some really awesome stuff and got to rip them. And I'm happy.
Right.
So I do that too. I don't always take the win and move on.
The entertainment, the fun. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what people forget. I'm always preaching, man. You're paying, like when people get into breaks, same thing. You're paying for that entertainment factor. If you get a hit, it's a bonus. Yeah, that was a nice. That was a nice. What do you got? Didn't you get 2 or 3 in one blaster? Zions?
So I actually had a couple of different. So I had a couple different orders, and I've got this theory as of late, which is that it's not company specific. Don't fire me, Topps, Upper Deck, or Panini. I don't even know. It's just in general. Collation in packouts has been, I don't want to say bad, because here's my other big question that I always ask everybody in the hobby is, what's better? True random collation could lead to bunching.
Right.
And also, if it's not random, but there's things to go in runs, well, you could get a really great run as much as you could get a really crappy run.
Right.
So, it's like the default is collectors say, oh, I want as much random collation as possible, but I don't think they actually think that all the way through sometimes. That said, what I've been seeing a lot of, because I've been generally getting my stuff as of late in like small batch orders, like I'll order 3 hobby boxes, or I'll order 10 blasters online,
Yeah.
From the manufacturer, because I don't have time to get out and go to stores anymore. And, the hobby shops in LA are all really far away from me, or the nearest one specializes in vintage, so can't get packs there really. So that's how I've been acquiring a lot of product lately, the last 2 years. And I've been finding that, like, in my 4 Prism blasters that I got this year in basketball,
yep,
it was like between them I got the same 8 rookies over and over and over again. And I would also find that generally the rookies that I would get an insert of, I would also get their base card. So I wouldn't get like a Jaw, silver emergent and not have gotten a Jaw base emergent and a Jaw base.
Right.
I'm seeing that a lot. Now, maybe that's just me.
Here's what I've seen too, Ivan, is that like in the basketball products, so like Optic I know is one for sure. Anytime there's a Jaw, there's typically a Zion like right behind. And I think I forget what the other product is too that I've seen this over and over again. It's if a Jaw comes, a Zion comes. Unless it's like the last card in the pack, like the Jaw's the last card on the back.
Yeah, the internal
reason.
runs is very clear.
Right.
It's been going on for a long time, going back to 2014 with Chris Bryant and Trevor Gretzky and Robert Gesselman all being in the same spot in Bowman, if you
right.
That being said, I find it very interesting that the pack outs also, though, still seem to follow that. Like, unless I'm getting absolutely randomly hit multiple times that way.
Right.
So that being said, I've preached this a few times, never in quite this much depth, though. So thank you, in depth.
No, that's great. Love it.
And so I got an order of 14 of the blasters, the international blasters that are $100 each on the Panini website.
Yep.
And now going for like 140 to 170, depending on who you talk to. So I could have sold them and made some money, but I had to rip one. And I ripped that one, and I got a Zion rookie. So then I'm thinking, well, according to my philosophy that I've espoused and spouted and blown up out there, right?
Yep.
There needs to be more of these. So there was 2 separate orders of that. Unfortunately, I opened the first box from the order of 8. So then I opened 2 more, and I was like, crap, I'm not going to, no, because I didn't hit any Zions. Well, okay, I'll open 1 more. And that's where I got that Dress to Impress insert, which is worth like 150 or 170. So it's even better than the base. And I was having fun at that point. So then I was like, oh, there was another Zion. Let me keep opening. Got through that whole 8 and didn't hit another Zion. And then because I'm a degenerate, I looked at the box of 6 and I said, well, I'll just open 1 and then I can sell a lot of 5. And of course, in that 1, I hit a Zion. And then in the next one from that lot of 6, I hit a Zion base and a Zion acetate. And then in the third one, I hit another Zion.
So you're telling me you just pretty much guerrilla ripped all of this product. Well, you went from, right?
Yep,
you said you were going to have the 6. You took 1. Then you opened another one and another one?
Yeah, and then at that point, well, you've hit 3. Well, yeah, but if the theory holds, there may still be a Zion autograph in here. Because that's the other thing about these blasters. I'm sorry to get hung up for so long on one product. But,
no, you're good.
But people are upset that blasters are going for this much. I hit, I believe, 4 autographs in the 14 that I opened. So it's not like the autographs are super rare either. And every autograph I hit was numbered to 25. So it's like... So I kept opening, but the funny thing to that point is that I only hit 1 Jaw, and that was in the very last pack. So it was very... I got like 6 or 7, actually probably 8 or 9 now that I think about it, of certain rookies.
Mm-hmm.
But other rookies I got none of, and Jaw I got 1. So anyways.
Interesting.
We are going to be on here until midnight, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, you said
If I
how
keep
long do
telling
these
stories
go,
like
and I'm like, well, an hour. We could go a little longer. Smash took about 2.5 hours, but
that. Mhm.
I figured you're crunched on time. But again, you're over in L.A., so it's just after dinner time for you. So
Yeah.
six
It's
o'clock.
just the challenge. Like literally, the wife got home like the minute before things started, and the twins. We're not the best at parenting quite yet. It's still a challenge every day.
It's a challenge for anybody and everybody. We're all continuing to learn, no matter how long you've been a parent. All right, Ivan. Well, let's kick it back. We kind of you got that little ramp, but let's go back to where it all started for you. So where did Ivan grow up?
So Ivan grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, little
So
town in the Midwest.
Omaha, Nebraska. Now you're in
Yeah.
L.A. So how did that happen? How did you transform from Nebraska, the corn, the corn world, to Los Angeles? How did that happen?
I was waiting for the plastic joke to come in there. So I was studying at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, and my freshman year, I had no clue what I wanted to do when I grew up. Was actually going through a bit of depression,
Okay.
and then I took an acting class, and I was like, "This is what I want to do." Nobody had ever told me growing up that I could be an actor, that it was a thing you could actually do. It wasn't achievable. You saw Macaulay Culkin, and you're like, "Man, how did he get that?" But I can't get that. I'm a kid in
Right.
Nebraska. And so then, as I got more and more into it through my college years and studying and traveling a bit in the summers, doing shows in Chicago and New York, and I lived in LA for about 6 months, a little bit earlier in my life, when I was 17. I just kind of knew I wanted to be in LA. So after graduating, I saved up and then packed what I could into my car, sold my bed and sold my DVDs, and drove out here. And yeah, so that's how I got to LA.
Okay.
Roundabout story of how I got to where I'm at today. Not really doing much acting, but I am doing things like this and have the sports card world personality as well. So it fulfills that niche or that itch, I should say, while also letting me help my family, take care of my family, and keep my wife happy.
So Ivan, you are a face of the hobby. Not only are you a collector, not only are you a voice on Twitter around the social media platforms, but also a voice for GoGTS. When did when did cards actually first come in your life? Like, is there a story behind the first experience of you getting cards? Your first time basically encountering cards or the hobby? Was there somebody that maybe a family member or somebody that introduced them to you? How did that come about?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was when I was 4 or 5 years old. I was in Chicago with my dad. My dad's family's from Chicago, and we were at like a Woolworths or something and bought a pack of cards. And in that first pack, I got an Andre Dawson All-Star pop-up card,
Mm-hmm.
and he played for the Cubs. I'm a huge Cubs guy,
Mm-hmm.
was back then too because of WGN. And so that was it. It all started there. And then, like in Little League, I pitched, and my dad had a deal with me. You can only pitch 3 innings back then in Little League before they kicked you out. And every strikeout, I would get a pack of cards afterwards. So that's how I got my
Wow.
1990 and 91 Donruss collections going.
Yep.
Best I ever did was 7. Got 7 packs one day.
Nice.
When I was 6 years old or 8 years old, I was quite the little leaguer. Don't know what happened to that. So yeah, I've got lots of good stories from when I was a little kid. And then, 10, 11, 12, even 13, 14 would ride our bikes like 3 or 4 miles across Omaha to the catcher's mitt. Jim there used to run auctions. Like, he understood eBay well before eBay came along.
Right.
And it was a genius thing. But collected a lot of collector's choice during those years because it was what I could afford. And then I did sort of take off, during late high school and through college. And part of how LA actually plays into the story is, very few people in LA, especially when they first move here, have houses.
Right.
You live in an apartment, and every year your lease gets up and they raise the rent, so you move to a new place. And it was about gosh, it's really been like 9 years now. We moved into this apartment, and my now wife, then girlfriend, it was our second place together, and it was a bigger place. And I found this closet, and I was like, wow, I actually have a place for cards. It's like I have a home for cards.
Yeah.
I should get back into it. And I had a few boxes I'd ripped in back in the day and kept with me. And so I'd literally open some packs and put them back in the pack and just carried them around from apartment to apartment for a few years. So I had a Mark Sanchez. I was sorting, I think it's 2009 tops that had Sanchez as a rookie in it.
Yep.
And I was sorting them, and I noticed that I had two cards that had the same number but a different picture on the front. And I said, "What's this?" And it was one of those photo variations.
Yep.
It was brand new to me. They didn't have that on purpose growing up. And I paid 99 cents to Beckett online to get a pricing on it. And it said it was $60 because this was right after the second championship game before he went in the crapper.
Right.
So I went online and sold it for $35, and I was hooked. I was like, hey, I've got space, I can sort. And so that's what really brought me back in as an adult.
Okay, cool. So, man, awesome story. Strikeouts equaling packs. I wish I would have had that kind of bargain or kind of deal when I was playing sports with any of my parents, I guess. But it's a great way to, I guess, motivate you and really at the end of the day continue to have fun playing sports. So this comes along. You get married, you have kids, you have twins, correct?
Yep, 3-year-old twin boys.
Yep,
3.5.
twin
4?
boys.
I don't even know anymore.
You get married. When do you finally land a job with GoGTS, or when does this come about?
Well, a job is a liberal way of putting it. No disrespect to them, but I work about literally what you see on the show. I get on the show about 20 minutes beforehand, and that's my week with them. Though I do love it. So it's really nice of the fact that Rob, who is full-time with GTS, puts the whole thing together. So credit where it's due also. Him and James really make the show happen. So I had done my comedy web series, The Breaks, which is where my name comes from.
Right.
Remember, I was pursuing acting.
Right.
And I got back into card collecting, and I thought, you know what? I've made all these dumb mistakes. I could make a web series about it, and maybe somebody would find it funny.
Right.
So I had done that and gotten a bit of a Twitter following and Instagram following, 2,000-3,000 people maybe. Right when GTS was trying to figure out how to fill what they saw as kind of a void. People don't know this now, but 5 years ago, there was no shows. Before that, there had been Cardboard Connection Radio or Cardboard Radio, which turned into Cardboard Connection Radio. And then there was Sports Card Radio, Colin, and he was, I think, doing more episodes more commonly than he is now, where he does like one a quarter. But that was it. And so Cardboard Connection Radio ended, and there was like a year and a half where there was very little video content or YouTube content around the hobby. And so GTS said, well, hey, we want to do something that provides information. And we need some good hosts. And we know that Rob can do it because of Cardboard Connection Radio. And, this Ivan guy seems like he might be a good fit. And graciously, they asked me to. And it's been over 5 years now that we've been on the air.
And now you say you just have the weekly show with GoGTS, but at the National every year, you're also there. Are you not representing GoGTS as well, right? I mean, when you're there.
No, that's true. That's
doing
true.
the interviewing
and of course,
and everything
this year
else. And then the rookie premieres. You get to attend all those, like the NBA, the NFL, correct?
So if they're in LA or near LA, I do.
Okay.
Sadly, I think they had either Russ Cohen or Kelsey Schroyer cover the last NBA one because it was on the East Coast. That would have been fun.
Right.
But yeah, so when they do events, we do some extracurricular content. I've gotten to go to the rookie premieres the last 4 years maybe now, which is incredible. So Patrick Mahomes is one of my collect fail stories on the prospecting side. because he literally came up the year that we were expecting, or that the kids had just been born. I can't even keep it straight. And it's like twins in an apartment in Los Angeles.
Right.
that entire year, I didn't spend $1 on cards, barely. And that was also the year I knew. So I was watching the Arizona Fall League, and I said, this Acuna kid is gonna pop up. And I've searched for it. I forget. I know it's out there somewhere. There's a tweet in like November of that year where I said, should I pull the trigger on this Acuna Bowman Chrome at 195 or 194 or something? And I couldn't do it because the kids were on the way. And but him and Mahomes both were the two that I'm like, I really wanted them. But it's really cool to hang out with the players in a less formal setting and just sort of get to see their personalities and also see some of the process behind cards, because, let's face it, we see a lot of stuff that we question or wonder on, Twitter and the forums and things like that nature. And I will tell you, and again, not because they write me a paycheck three hours a week and at the National, honestly, a ton of the conspiracy theories that I've seen are just made up. Like there was just this one going around about reprinting optic megabox, like reprinting more optic for megaboxes. And it's like, no, the hits are still exactly the same, so the parallels are numbered the same. And with enough digging, somebody came out with, they told all shops, all retail shops 4 months ago that they were delayed. Like, it was public knowledge, just nobody talked about it. But then the second they hit shelves, it's a big conspiracy. And it's like, no, sometimes it's just, sports cards are not printing a player's image and shipping it out. It's an entire logistics game, So it has been kind of cool to actually see a lot of that and, be able to stay in this hobby, because I do believe in a lot of the integrity that I talk about.
Right. So at these rookie premieres, who would you say who was the funnest player that you got to interact with, that you got to meet?
Zeke Elliott was super cool. But it's also fun because you get to see those little things that you don't see in the media or that you don't hear about. Right. Everybody knows that that Zeke is outgoing, right? Yeah. He's pretty famous for that.
Yeah.
What I thought was really interesting at the rookie premiere, and what made me think he was actually going to be successful in the league, was that he attached himself, at least that one day that I was there, he literally was on Jared Goff's hip. And if you know Jared Goff, he is like the most his father was a professional ball player, so he knew from day one what to say, what not to say. A little boring because of that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting for me to see someone like Zeke sort of following around Jared Goff, like, hey, I need to learn. It's not Ohio State anymore. It's a national platform, I don't have boosters. I have both fans and critics. So that was a kind of cool thing. But he was also super, super outgoing. Gosh, I can't even remember. Who were the rookies last year? Last year's class was really fun at the Q&A. Now I can't even remember who they were. Maybe I'm fatherhood. The Baker Mayfield Lamar Jackson class.
Yes.
They were hilarious at the Q&A. And if I can do one plug here for GTS, go Google it. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, the Q&A from the rookie premiere that year. It's like 50 minutes of those guys just making fun of each other, riffing on each other, having so much fun. And it was Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. Who's the other big quarterback from that class that I'm missing?
Josh.
Gosh, I can't even remember. But yeah, so that was really super fun. And just a really cool event to go to.
Right. So let's kind of dive into some of your national, being at the National and kind of your role in the National. You do pretty much interviewing like the whole time you're there, right? I mean, it's pretty much the table. They come up, you do different interviews. You've gotten to interview Gary V. You've interviewed, I don't know if Blake probably wasn't someone at the National, but you've interviewed Blake Jameson. I mean, you've interviewed some big names or some faces that a lot of people know when they say their name.
Mhm.
You had mentioned something about an experience or the experience with Gary Vee and when you interviewed him. Did you want to share that with us?
Yep, I did. I'm getting visited again.
You're
I think
good.
my wife is getting
You're good.
double teamed by the kids. He brought me a plum. Though. What a good kid.
That's awesome. What's up,
What a
buddy?
good kid.
What's up, buddy?
Thank you for the plum, buddy. Okay, go hang out with mommy.
Love it. It's all
Thank
good.
you.
Love it.
Hey, Tim Lehman's in the chat. Hey, Tim, how you doing? The Josh Rosen. Thank you, Tim Lehman. Yeah, so Gary Vee, well, it was funny because you were talking about like what it's like to interview somebody like that and also about your interview style.
Right.
And like you've been great because you just keep letting me talk.
Right.
Which I actually don't prefer. You notice at the beginning I was trying to interview you as much as I wanted to talk about me. But Gary is, you really do as an interviewer need to listen when Gary is with you, because he does talk longer and in circles a bit. That said, sometimes the gold comes when you just let him keep going.
Right.
And if you watch the interview, I believe there is one time when I specifically, you can almost see me bite my tongue. I did it right once. One time I was like, and then I realized he still had something else, and he said something great. So, I think that you are actually really great at it, listening and moving the spotlight on. As an actor, it's something I had to learn, and I still, every time we do our show, have to remind myself with the guests that we have on. You mentioned Blake Jameson.
Right.
We get manufacturers on, marketing reps. We've had Nick Wasika was a great interview recently. He's a photographer whose work has appeared on a bunch of different sports cards, and he's a collector.
That's cool.
So that's a really special interview. But it is funny, like you gotta remind yourself sometimes when you're speaking with the great ones, it's like, oh wait, it's their interview. It's Jimmy Fallon versus Johnny Carson.
Right. So, speaking of those interviews, you named Gary Vee, Blake Jameson. You named, I already forgot the guy's name, but the one that does the photographs on a lot of the cards. Nick Wasika. Yeah. There you go. What are some of the other names that some of these guys watching will know if you were to say their names, you would know? And is there any certain story or something you remember from any of them that's very unique, that sticks with you, that you always go back to?
Well, oh God, and this is terrible. I'm going to have to Google him real quick. I shouldn't have even told you. I should have just filled the space. Last year's Mega Jeopardy champion, James.
I'm not
the guy, right?
I'm not going to know Jeopardy champion. No, it's not something I follow.
James Holzhauer, the guy that, reset Jeopardy. He changed the way the game was played. He set records. How do you not know that, Jeff? No, I'm just kidding. So he had a card in Allen and Ginter, and he actually came to the National because he was friends with some people there. In fact, I know that you're friends with Rip and Gypsy.
Yep.
She was at the booth with him for a couple of days. Anyways, that was super fun because since you don't know, the way that he changed the Jeopardy game was two things. He would not go in order through a category, which I still believe is a great strategy because they generally get progressively harder. And so you can disqualify some of what you may think for the harder answer if you start at the top and go down. But he relied a bit more on unsettling other people and trusting his own knowledge. So he was jumping around all over the board.
Huh.
So it was just setting his opponents off from the get-go.
Right.
And then the second thing was 95% of the time, if he had a daily double, he would make it a true daily double. Which is actually an argument that I've made for a long time, which is this is your only chance to leapfrog the competition, is if you've each got 4,000, 2,000, so on and so forth, and you bet 4,000, you're going to go way up there. Whereas if you lose 4,000, you've still only got 2,000 to make up in ground,
Right.
So he did that, and he was winning 20, 30,000 a show. So he was a celebrity, got in Allen and Ginter, and we got to interview him. which was super fun because I'm a Jeopardy nerd, if you haven't figured that out. But it was extra fun because we got to do a sports card Jeopardy with him.
Well, that's awesome.
And we pulled 3 contestants out of the stage to play along with us. And he ended up not winning.
Wow.
So, just goes to show collectors coming through in a pinch.
That is absolutely awesome. So you've been around the hobby for quite some time. I kind of want to talk a little bit on just as far as product wise. What, in your opinion, I mean, you see it all. You do reviews on GoGTS, right? You guys open products. You guys review it. You guys talk about it. You actually give product away as well. So, guys, little plug for you again. Thursday nights, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Thursday nights. Make sure you guys check them out when they're live because you have a chance to not only see some great content, see the new products that come out, but actually win some stuff. What is, in your opinion, what is the product that you feel is the best, or is in your choice? You have to eliminate between Topps, Panini, all of them. You have to eliminate the majority of these products. What product are you keeping around, Ivan?
Gotcha. So I like how you switched the question a little because I went on a bit of a rant this week about this because I get asked this question a little too often, and I get it. People want to know, how do I make money? That's really what they're trying to ask most times. It's not what I just heard from you.
Right.
But I get asked a lot, oh, is this product any good? I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
Because I just mentioned I collected Collector's Choice as a kid, and I loved it. And I also, because my day job is in, advice and finance, I'm a big believer in what's called efficient market hypothesis. Two genius academics, Fama and French, came up with it, won a Nobel Prize. But basically what it says is, in the sense of the market, it's not 1940 when the market was a piece of ticker tape this big that came through every 15 minutes and you could spot an inefficiency because only 2,000 people in the country were reading that tape. With the way information is presented now and the amount of computers and analysis and things going on, there are no inefficiencies to exploit in the market. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make money investing. Obviously, Amazon has shot up in the last year.
Right.
It's shot up in the last 20 years, however you look at it. But it's that you can't win that guess. It's that it still is a guess, and that the risk and the reward are priced in properly. So the market has decided this is a fair price for this. Cap'n Crunch. If you went to the grocery store and they had Captain Crunch marked at $15 a box, very few people love it enough to pay that much for it.
Right.
The market settles right where people will pay, and yet the company can it's always right there. I believe that sports card configurations and prices are generally following that same pattern. The odds of hitting are not much better in this product than that product, or if they are, that's why that product is cheaper, or that's why that product's secondary market value is lower. Clearly
Right.
Authentic has so many one of ones in it that a one of one from there is less than a one of one from Flagship, even though Flagship per pack is cheaper, but you also have worse odds of hitting an autograph. So it's all a big circle when it comes
Right.
to the best product from that standpoint. So thank you for letting me throw that big theory
No,
and
I love
philosophy out there. That being said, the product for me, which is what I kind of heard you saying, it does depend on sport, but I will say baseball at the end of the day is my favorite sport. And honestly, I get the most fun every year out of opening Allen and Ginter. I think that the combination of baseball, the vintage feel, and the eclectic autograph set part, the eclectic hits part, is just a crap ton of fun. And I love seeing random guys like I think his name is Brian Fallon from Gaslight Anthem was in there last year with an autograph.
Right.
I
Post
think
Malone. You got all sorts of posty autographs.
That too.
You
That
got
too.
all
But
sorts of cool stuff.
so mainly because you made me boil it down to one. If I'm just collecting, if I'm just, chasing fun stuff
That's interesting.
for myself, it'd be that. Um,
That's
you know.
interesting. That's interesting. I appreciate you answering that.
What about you?
For me, if I were to boil it all down to one, probably Topps Chrome. If we're talking baseball.
See, and here's. I mean, I know I'm not going to sway the market on this because Topps Chrome is that popular. Back when I was making decent money and didn't have kids, I would buy a box and just be like, 4 cards a pack. Like it's kind of
Right.
a hit or bust product for me. It's like if you get a pitcher auto that's non-numbered, like it's just, it's not that fun. And the cards overall don't, like, I don't know.
Pitcher autos crush me, but it's still at the end of the day, I like the product. Like that's the. But it's funny you say pitcher autos because that's one of my biggest things when I'm in anyone's breaks, and you just see over and over again pitcher autos, and I'm like, someone's like, oh, here's the auto, and I'm like, oh, I bet you Defness is already in the chat saying it's a pitcher. Because that's all it is, man. Pitchers, 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 pitchers. Like you don't get that non-pitcher auto very often. It's just crazy. It's crazy to me. All right.
So Jimmy jumped in the chat. Hey Jimmy.
What's
Shout
up,
out.
Guns?
So he jumped in with a comment that if you had a chance at getting a $5K value toy out of the Captain Crunch, people would pay $15 a box, though. And I agree, but that's why I just paid $100 a box for these blasters. And that's why people are paying $275 a box. So, yeah, I'm not saying, $15. Obviously, and that's what happens with efficient markets is the price then goes up to what people are willing to pay for the chance of that hit, whose price is predicated based on what they were willing to pay. And you can only, like, the inefficiencies only show up in hindsight. 2011 Topps update is, as far as I understand, generally much less produced, or was at the time much less produced than both base, Series 1 and Series 2. And it was just a generally slow time, so it wasn't like they ramped up and there was a million of each card. There was less product being made at the time.
Right.
So not only do you have the lightning in a bottle of Mike Trout, but it's a generally, relative to the broad scheme of the market, the hobby, the decades, not a widely, like, super produced product. Same thing with the first year of mega boxes that had the Shohei Ohtani. They were pretty limited, even though they sat on the shelves for 3 weeks before they sold out, because people didn't know at the time that they would be mega boxes.
Right.
They didn't know the zeitgeist that would kick in. So, the documentary Jack of All Trades kind of put it perfectly. Said somebody on there says something about, like, if I had known the 52 mantles would have been this, then I wanted to put them in my bike spokes. But if you hadn't put them in your bike spokes, they wouldn't be this.
Right.
So, yeah. Which is why I think it's a hobby, which is why I think it's fun, and which is why I think you should spend your entertainment budget on it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because that's what I continue to preach. Again, we talked about this earlier. Same thing I say. You're getting into these breaks for entertainment, for the fun. Also, for the experience, people say, well, why don't you could just go buy a box, whatever. But yeah, but then you don't get these chat rooms. You get to interact with people. You're getting the whole, it's the experience. It's the experience and the fun value.
Well,
so
there was another great example of how stupid that argument is. I very rarely call things stupid, except when they're stupid. How many people this last weekend spent $700 to blow stuff up for an hour?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that's stupid. I'm saying, like, what I constantly see on a daily basis is that people don't realize, I'm going to go Gary Vee for a minute here, they don't realize how much money is spent in America on stupid stuff.
Right.
I didn't know if this was a PG show or not.
No,
Mine
you're good.
is, so. But but
no kids no kids until your kids walk in. All right.
Yeah, exactly. It's my fault it's PG, right? But fireworks. How much money is the fireworks industry every year? Just to blow up money.
Right.
just to hear a pop, a bang, what have you. I believe that a big part of the overall card market general boom that we saw, because I did notice a lot of prospect cards were down over the coronavirus quarantine, COVID-19, whatever you call it. But generally, we saw huge swings up in a lot of like landmark cards. Casinos were closed. How much money goes into casinos every single day? And I think that we're just starting to see, I'm seeing a lot of people just start to see how much of that is still out there and is not yet in cards.
Right.
I talk to friends that collect these cause figures and Funkos and things of that nature, and Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, there's so much random collectible stuff, and it pops up every time that a Andrew McCutcheon SSP happens, or a Shane Bieber, Justin Bieber tweets it out happens.
Right.
Or the Menendez brothers are discovered on a card.
Yeah, Mark Jackson.
All of a sudden, all of these people are willing to spend $20, $40, $60 on a baseball card, even though they've never collected.
Right.
Well, it's just like how, look in your circle of work friends, or your wife's friends' husbands. How many of them collect? But they're all still spending the money you're spending on collecting, probably on some other dumb stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So the more we can bring awareness to the hobby, like, the hobby still has a ton of room to grow. I'm not saying it will. That all has to do with trends and what people continue to do. And, the other crazy, manufacturer discussion is like, are they printing too much? Well, I still can't get any. Are they not printing enough? When do we hit junk wax era? Like, what's the balance? All that to say, there is still a lot of room for demand to grow.
Right. And I'm seeing a lot more and more of the just getting back into the hobby. I'll be in chat rooms, I'll be in breaks. Like, I was in BITGs last night, and it's some guy I'd never seen before. I just say, hey, how's it going to him? Hey, good, man, I'm just getting back into it. I just stumbled across this, just getting back into collecting. And you see it over and over and over again. So, yeah, I mean, you got that, and you got the people that are coming back.
That's the biggest reason I was bullish on Topps Project 2020 from nearly the beginning, was because after a week or two of it, I saw every day, I haven't bought a card in 10 years and I just bought one. I haven't bought a card in 20 years and I just bought one. These are so cool. Because they were cool cards. In the beginning, people also weren't talking about how much money you could make on them. I dumbly only bought 2 Baller Ichiros instead of buying 10. If I bought 10, we'd be having this discussion from a beach. If I bought 100, forget about it, right?
Right.
But again, you don't know the Mickey Mantle. The Mickey Mantle is popular because of that. But all that to say, the reason I was bullish on it, and am a little personally miffed at Topps for their quality control dropping of the ball, which, I get logistics companies, like I said earlier, but it still frustrates me, is because I've seen so many people who saw 1 or 2 of those really cool cards, and then over the first 70 saw 3 or 4 more, and then went out and bought a box of soccer cards, and then went out and bought a box of, a hobby blaster at Target, a card blaster at Target. And next thing you know, they're jumping in breaks, and it's like, there's so much room for the hobby to grow. My director on The Breaks, the show that I filmed like 7 years ago, is a huge soccer guy. He literally had a show on ESPN radio here in LA about soccer. Is now the voice of a soccer team, their play-by-play announcer. And I have been bugging him. He's followed me on Twitter for years. And yet, even though he directed the show and had fun and we talked about his old cards, never bought a card in those 7 years. And Project 2020 got him into cards. Now he's buying Topps living soccer cards. Now he's talking about, which new soccer prospect he's going to, like, there's so much room for people to still come back to the hobby.
Absolutely.
It actually, let me ask you this. So if what I'm saying is true, how much more can they print before we hit a new junk wax era? Or is the demand there to support it? And how long can it sustain for?
Well, here's the thing, Ivan. If you're saying that people are saying that they're printing more, but yet the hits are still the same, the 101s or the to 25s or whatever you'd said earlier, right? The hits, if people are saying they're printing more, but yet the hits are still staying the same, you had mentioned that.
Well,
I
so
don't think it
bounce.
matters.
That was in direct connection to a reprinting people were alleging. But if you do look, I'd be willing to argue that there was more Prism printed this year than last year.
Yeah.
Again, going back to 2011, there was how many parallels in Bowman? 3 or 4? Or 2009 Bowman with Mike Trout. And now we've got 17 different parallel options.
Right.
So they are printing more as demand goes up. But when's the point where it's too much? When's the point where the flippers all have it and nobody actually wants to buy it?
Right.
Project 2020, Keith Short, Ken Griffey Jr. When does that happen to wax?
Tough. That's the question.
You're not going to answer it?
I'm not going to answer. That's a
That's
question.
what I came on the show for, Def, just to get an answer.
Ask me? I already gave you a couple answers. I don't know, man. I honestly don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. If I had the answer, I'd tell you. Maybe somebody in the chat has the answer.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's the other thing that I love about the hobby, though, is like I was here. 2013 was a sucky year in the hobby. Nobody today remembers that, especially none of the new people coming in. None of the people that got in 3 years ago and are like, "Oh, the hobby's too big now." Remember that literally in 2013, David Reel, there's an article that I found tweeted like 6 months ago, didn't bookmark it, of course, but it was like him at the industry conference talking about how they were cutting back on production that year because they heard they heard that there's too much from last year still. Like, the manufacturers do listen, and they don't want to, in this age of manufactured scarcity, they also don't want to blow it up too fast, too soon, too big. So, enjoy it, but remember, we are not that long away from when it was a lean year.
Right.
A lean year or 3. How was 2015?
Yeah.
When did we connect, Def?
We connected. Well, it's probably been so. It's funny because when you brought up thinking that my YouTube was my Twitter, that I am.
Mm-hmm.
We were probably we were connected when my Twitter was just Defness 45. I actually let that one. I kind of stepped away myself from the hobby for a little while, about a year and a half ago, and when I did that, I let that Twitter disappear because when you deactivate it, 30 days you have to like re-log in, otherwise it's gone, right? So I actually let it. I was gone long enough and didn't log back into it or anything to lose it. So that's where the I am Defness 45 came in.
You want us to be sure you are Defness 45.
I am the one that was. Yes,
Yeah.
I am the one that was, Ivan. I just want to make sure. But we were connected back then.
Yeah.
And then I think it, through the time, I just kind of did my gradual back in with everybody. And then I think we finally eventually reconnected on the I am one. But we were connected when it was Defness. So, I don't know, a couple years, 2.5 years ago maybe, the first time.
So when did you first get like into collecting?
Personally, me?
Yeah.
Well, when I was about 7.
Did you have an away?
Yeah, I had an away time. Yeah, I typically bring it up when I ask my guests. Like you mentioned it when you started talking through, but when I ask my guests, hey, did you take that break where you kind of started chasing the girls, having kids, doing all that jazz? Yeah, that was kind of the same thing with me. I did a little dabble, and I did a little eBay selling back then, like when I was through my first marriage, when I had my first couple kids. And it was just a small little dabble, and then I disappeared again, and then I came back, and now I've just been pretty much steady. Well, again, I took a little break to get my head right, about a year and a half ago, but recharge, I guess you would say.
So what year would you say that you jumped back in, that first actual jump back in?
Jump back in, so it's would have been 2016, 15,
Okay.
16. Yeah, 15, 16.
Gotcha. So that's what, again, please, no offense, because there's so many people in this hobby that know more than I do. It's one of the reasons I love it.
Right.
But that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is I've seen a huge ramp up of people that got in. Maybe they got in 2015, which seemed like a bit of a leaner year.
Right.
But you don't have the perspective then.
Right.
You have to go, if you went through 2012 football and then 2015 football, you're like, oh, wait, what's happening?
Right.
But if you didn't go through 2012 with all that crazy great rookie class that's still paying dividends, Ryan Tannehill, it's so funny the ones that panned out from there and didn't. But yeah, so to give a little perspective, 2013 manufacturers were cutting production. 2015 people were cutting production. Stefan Loeffler just commented, "People who know more than Ivan?" Question mark. Talk about one of them, Junk Wax Twins. That guy can walk circles around you on what the different 1991 Upper Deck holograms are that you can look out for. Oh my goodness! And that's another reason I love the hobby. Growing up, everybody did collect, right, in our era,
right?
But nobody actually collected like I did in my neighborhood,
right?
And that's all. That was your network when you were a kid. You had your neighborhood, your bike, maybe your church.
I had the older kids that were taking my whatever my 78 cards that I got from my uncle, my Nolan Ryan 78s and my and then they're like, hey, yeah, I'll give you this cool Mickey Hatcher 87 Topps Twins card or something for the Nolan Ryan. Like, that's a great deal. Yeah, okay, cool, I'll do it.
And that's another point that people constantly, it's all about the money. It's all about the flip. And it's like, dude, it has always been all about that.
Right.
Yeah, there are some purists out there, and I respect and love them. But still, for 98% of collectors, there's always been a flip element. And I'd say for 80% of collectors, it's always been about ripping somebody off in order to get more money. Goes back to when we were kids.
You know what I'd love, Ivan? Either to get you and Sean on a show together, or just to get you guys. I'm sure you're both connected on Twitter. Shizzler, yeah. To get you guys going back and forth, man. That would be gold.
We had fun at the National. I think I almost convinced him Gary Vee had a heart and a soul.
That would be gold, dude. Every time I hear you talking about, how you're financial and stuff too, because he's such a financial guy, but like his challenges are just fun. It's great. I always tell everybody, like, because he's in Minnesota too, so we'll meet up at card shows that are local and we'll go whatever. But I always tell everybody he's that one friend that you only want to have one of. He's like that, he's that one, and that's it. Love him. I love him, but man, I love him. So, a couple things before we wrap up here. I don't want to. You pretty much give me an hour of your time, and I appreciate that. I know everybody else does too. So you brought up the Cubs, the pop-up Dawson card that got you connected to the Cubs. You're also a fan of the Bulls, the Kings, and the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Where do these teams come about? How did you connect to these teams being your teams?
So my father is from Chicago originally, and sorry for the stretch, but I've actually got some stuff handy. And so growing up in Omaha, we did have WGN, and it's funny, like people say, "Oh, what's your team coming from Omaha?" And I see you've got the Twins hat on.
Yep.
It's like Omaha's right in the middle. So you get people that are, Broncos fans, people that are Bears fans, people that are Chiefs fans, people that are Vikings fans.
Yeah.
You get people that are Rockies fans. You get people that are, Cubs, White Sox, Twins, Brewers, Like it's in the middle.
It's pure Midwest. It's true Midwest, or true mid, I guess.
Yep, exactly. So I was raised with Cubs, Bears, Bulls,
Right.
Live or die. This was a Don Zimmer card that I got in 1989. We went to a game in Chicago, and I got a ball, which is somewhere from the Wrigley Field grounds crew, and then my grandma sent me this card a week later that they had gotten autographed by Don Zimmer, the coach. So Cubs have been since I was a little kid. Harry Carey said my name on national TV on that. Hey, we want to welcome Curtis and Ivan Lovegreen from Omaha, Nebraska. And actually, in other cool hobbiness, I don't know if you follow Philly Out Loud, Tommy. He goes in spurts, but he literally sent me this last month, an autographed Harry Carey check. just, I mean, that's the thing. If the hobby crashes, I'm still here because it's you, it's Jimmy, it's DP,
Right.
it's the Kosh, it's, Tommy and Philly. That's the best part about it. But so yeah, so Cubs, Bears, Bulls. I had the 1988 Bears, spring training poster checklist up in my room as a kid. Neil Anderson starting lineups. Those,
So the Kings
all of
and the
that.
Rams just come because of your living in LA then? Is that really where you...
Well, so the first one was the Kings because when I moved to LA, it was 2007, and even though yeah, Blackhawks, but
Yeah.
I was just never a big hockey guy. Analog television, square TVs, that kind of
It's
crap.
alright, I was never a hockey guy either. Still
Yeah.
not.
So I moved out here and I got a job very quickly, fell backwards into being an assistant to a very high powered film producer who also was a huge hockey fan and had Kings season tickets. And so I was like, well, I never followed hockey before. There's nothing wrong with becoming a Kings fan then, right? Like integrity, fandom, all that. So I started following hockey with the Kings before they were any good. Got to see 2 Stanley Cup championships with them. Didn't get to go to them, but got to see them. You know what I mean? And so I like the Kings. I've gotten to meet Luc Robitaille on multiple occasions.
Nice.
Spoke at my Rotary last year, which was really cool. Actually talked about like developing a team in hockey and how it's different from the other sports, and it was just fascinating. But anyway, so that's where the Kings came from, and then football
Rams.
for a long time. I've been feeling like, because I was doing fantasy football from the time I was 12 years old. And I got very lucky I drafted Trent Green and then Kurt Warner as the backup. The year that Trent Green went down in week 1 and Kurt Warner came on and ran them to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. And my dad was also a Marshall Falk super collector. In 1994, our collecting journey was chasing Marshall Falk cards at the card shows.
Right.
He was trying to get every single one. So when those 2 guys were on the Rams together, I was rooting for them. Then the 2010s start happening. I can't stand Jay Cutler. I feel like the Bears leadership has always been taking the cheap way out, since as long as I can remember. Huge Devin Hester fan. But when they signed Jay Cutler to that new contract, I said, what are you doing?
Smoking Jay.
Yep. And during that time, the Rams had brought up Aaron Donald and Todd Gurley. And I really liked both those guys. And then these rumors started flying, hey, the Rams might move to Los Angeles. And so I thought, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm sick of, one, I'm in LA, so I'm a liberal now, right? So I'm sick of all these like purists that you can't change fans and blood and fans and blah, 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 and fairway, Look, guys, I'm tired. And I'm about to have kids. They're going to be born in LA. They're going to be raised with the Rams as their home team. The Bears leadership and ownership sucks. I'm done.
Right.
So I adopted the Rams, and I haven't looked back, and I absolutely love it. I think that they're absolutely awesome. And then along with that, I now am a soccer fan, and my team, I was trying to find a card of them also. Oh, here he is. Here's my guy. Our second LA team, not the Galaxy, who don't even play in LA, they play in a suburb that's like an hour away, is LAFC. And they got this guy, Diego Rossi, who for years I've been saying this, going back to David Beckham. I said, it's cool that they spent $100 million on one big name, but how much cooler would it be if they spent $20 million each on like 4 up-and-coming prospects? And even though made it, more of a bit of a developmental league, at least made it a higher quality of play.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, that's what MLS has kind of been able to do. Not entirely, because the best guys still, Pulisic goes overseas, Alphonso Davies goes overseas, but they're still able to attract some really good guys. And Diego Rossi is from Uruguay, and they brought him over at like 18. Nobody knew who he was, but it's almost like when you hit that guy like the Acuna that, or is below the radar.
Right.
Or even Trout, second round draft pick, late second round, right? maybe mid-second round. Don't quote me on that. There's people here that know more than I do. So they were able to go a little further abroad, look a little deeper, and bring this kid up. And last year, in his second year in the league, he was in the top 5 in assists. I want to say top 5 in goals and like number 2 in assists. And he's just incredible. I'm like, and I got to see him play here first before what will hopefully be another 10, 12 years of great international play from this guy.
Right.
So
very cool.
So that's where LAFC comes from.
Very, very cool. Do you want to, I know we're a little over an hour now, do you want to do just a few Q&As or do you got to get off?
So we have a little meltdown barometer.
Yep.
You can probably hear that. I've got a pretty good microphone, so you'll be able to hear it as well as I do, as long as they're letting me. And also, I do have to clarify.
I love this. Yeah.
I always dig myself into a hole with this. Anybody that knows my wife, she is like she does not lean on me at all. So it's tough because in cards especially it can become a stereotype. But really part of it is like I want to be respectful of her because of how much she lets me get away with and like supports me quietly and doesn't.
Yeah.
But that being said, Pepino Man. Hey, it's always a good chat when Pepino Man's there. Also, I saw Eric Bailey. Oh, there's my good Rossi. Oh, I got to show these off.
Yeah, Gun said, Ivan is the reason you're so passionate about and have stuck with cards forever is because you and your dad did it together. Is he still around? If so, does he still collect?
I'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk about soccer.
You still want to talk soccer? Okay, let's keep going.
Are you able to see what I'm showing?
I do see it. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah, we see it.
So this is the other fun thing about soccer, especially in this inflated market. It may disappear in the next 3 months. We've already seen the Erling Haaland Topps Finest are going for like $1,000.
I've seen some of that Select and Prism opened, and it's pretty sexy. Some of the color in there is pretty sexy. Not gonna lie, but I don't know anything about soccer.
So here's that same guy I mentioned, Diego Rossi, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Topps, his very first card, they didn't put a rookie card logo on it because whoever is there doesn't watch enough soccer, doesn't have a clue. I don't know.
Right.
Or honestly, because then his stadium club later in the year did get it. It could be because he did play 1 year as a professional in Uruguay, which makes him not a rookie, not eligible for rookie of, all that.
Yeah.
Doesn't have it on. Yeah. This is a blue numbered to 99. I have literally never seen this card hit the market, ever. Really? I've never seen one listed on eBay. And because I'm in some soccer groups, I do know there's a market for soccer. I do know guys that would pay a good penny for this because he is a hot guy. Numbered to 99. But I saw it came on eBay because I'm probably the only human that saved notifications for Diego Rossi Topps minus Kick, because that's the digital app. And I won it at auction for $2.49.
Wow.
Now tell me which prospect's first card numbered to 99 in a popular sport you follow, you're going to be able to get that with in today's market.
Negative. Not even close.
And then he also has not had any autographed cards. But someone listed this card, numbered to 100, a dual relic card from 2019, second year. But look real close.
Drop it down just a little bit. There you go.
Do you see the relic there?
Yeah.
So it's very common, I found out from my sources, for MLS guys, soccer guys, to write their names on their jerseys. And so then, Topps goes and buys the jerseys from the team after the game, or after the season for these match use things.
Right.
Well, if you flip that upside down, that literally is a match for how Diego Rossi signs his name in photos.
Oh, my God. So that's like an autoed patch card.
Yep.
That's sick.
Which literally never seen an autographed trading card from him.
No,
so,
that's awesome.
And all that came up because I was also I saw EJ Bailey in the chat, and while we're giving shout outs to awesome people, this was something he gifted me because he's insane.
That is cool.
And still it's literally on my desk. You see, I can grab it in a heartbeat. One of my favorite cards ever. Favorite player. So, Jimmy, are you still there?
Jimmy won't leave us, man. Yeah, he's here.
My dad is still around. My dad does still collect. I've tried to get him on Twitter multiple times, and he's not having any of it. He's got some James White rookie cards that are like super overpriced that he's sitting on eBay waiting for someone to buy one day. but yeah, he still collects. And last year, actually, when I went back home to visit, I finally dug up my old boxes. So I was like, hey, the hobby's kind of taken off. There's probably something really good in here. And it's funny because looking at it, I know that I spent probably at least $1,500 over, age 10 to 16 on the stuff in those boxes. And I swear I pulled maybe $30 of stuff to take with me to LA and literally said throw the rest away.
Wow. But yeah, that's that's typically what it was, right? No matter what.
Yeah. Not even any of it. Like they're like 3 base Jordans. I was buying the dumbest stuff when I could have been buying Ernie Banks rookie cards. They were expensive back then, $40 a pop.
Would you say, though, going back to guns, I don't know if we did the whole question, would you say that that's the reason you're so passionate and stuck with cards forever is because you and your dad did it together?
Maybe it's a bit tough though to just say that because I'm one of 6 kids, and my older brother and my younger but right there brother, they're not really into collecting anymore. And I think I brought up when we were kids, I cared more than anybody on my block. Like there was always the kid that had way more money and could buy as many packs as he wanted, but threw them in a shoebox.
Right.
Whereas I was top loadering cards, from the time I was 6. So I always cared a little bit more about people. I don't know if it's my nature, my analytical side, or what, but it stuck with me definitely more than any of my other siblings. Funny story there. I actually a lesson that I learned. So I lived in LA. I mentioned that time that I bought like a couple of hobby boxes while I was still just bouncing around.
Yeah.
That was specifically tied to my youngest brother's 5th birthday. And I thought back to when I was a kid, and I thought, you know what? I could not imagine getting an $80 box of cards, right? Can you imagine that when you were 5?
Right.
Like getting a whole 1989 Upper Deck box, or, Flair.
It'd be like giving a couple $100 or something in cash at that age.
Yeah.
Like, here, go to the toy store, go to Toys R Us.
Yeah. But I'm single, and I've got money, and so I go to this card store, the Bullpen, which isn't in the same location, but it's still here in LA. Great guy there, Mitch. And I buy 2 hobby boxes of Topps football to send to my brother for his 5th birthday. Like, yeah, open these. Yeah.
All right.
And so I call him up on his birthday, and he's like, thank you for the cards. It's funny, he graduated high school this year and is going to college. Thank you for the cards. And guess what? Now that I'm 5, I get to chew gum. And I'm like, that was a waste of $160.
That's too much.
Jimmy said something else funny. I don't want to let him dominate the chat. And I see Zach has a question.
Yeah, let's go with Zach.
Well, I just wanted to touch on this stuff because he said I couldn't get a pack of Upper Deck. And it's so funny because a lot of those cards you open up and you're like, oh, I know all these cards. Pack Geek had me on at the National last year to open a few packs of 89 Upper Deck. And I'm opening them and I'm like, I literally don't these are all brand new cards to me. Because aside from the Griffey that we all know,
right,
like I did never open 89 Upper Deck. This is kind of cool to open a product like this and be surprised by the cards.
Yeah. Yep. Ivan, bit of an eBay question here. What are ways older cards can fluctuate in price, such as cards pre-1975? With players retired, they can't really have a good or a bad season. Yeah, so he's saying like retired players, and again, well, go ahead.
No,
go ahead. No, this is you. He's asking you.
Well, I don't know how to say it without being a jerk, but I'm also still hearing, how can I make money on older cards? So if that is the question, the one way is that there is some zeitgeist connected to it, which is, I'll use a perfect example. Dick Allen was trending for a hot minute this week because he tweeted out the McCutcheon card. Now, do you know who Dick Allen is?
I do not know who Dick Allen is.
Many people would argue he's the best baseball player not in the Hall of Fame. At least top 5 player in the Hall of Fame, not in the Hall of Fame. Pretty equatable to Frank Thomas, like Big Hurt type guy.
Right.
but bounced around, wasn't with just one team for a long time, and had some personality issues because he would clash with coaches.
So he
But
did things his way, kind of. He was the kind of
yeah,
my own way. I'm doing my things my way, which
yeah.
isn't a bad thing always.
No, not at all. I mean, so really cool guy, a bat that anybody would be afraid of having to face. So that's one way is, you never know now with the culture when Dick Allen might trend and people might go back and pick up his rookie cards.
Right.
Jimmy put it in the chat, when they die, their value jump. Sad, but true.
Yep.
Some of those guys, you're just like, man, unfortunately, that's when it's going to happen. But the other really interesting thing, we touched on this on GoGTSLive like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm still shocked I haven't seen more people do it, is grading prospecting. So if you're as analytical as I am, but have way more time than I do, you can go and look at things like 1974 tops and go look at the pop reports on PSA, because a bunch of people are trying to build sets of that.
Mm-hmm.
People are still trying to build. I see guys younger than me trying to build 1950 sets, 1960 sets.
Right.
And sometimes they'll be like, and it has to be a PSA 6 or better. Like, I'm really going to challenge myself. It's going to be a lifelong quest. And so what you can do, 1971 tops is notorious for this because of the black borders and the chipping, and it was just a bad quality to begin with, and then the black accentuates it. A base card, like a guy you've never heard of, I've never heard of, my dad never heard of, and he watched baseball in the 70s, in a PSA 10 can be a $2,000 card in that set.
Right, because there's not one. There hasn't been one that's been graded.
Yeah, and there are diehard set collectors out there. It only takes two people, right? But there's probably 100, maybe 200 across the country that want a PSA 8 set of that or PSA 9 set of that. So that's another, if you want a really fun exercise, and this will get back to, don't tell my boss I'm saying this. There is a way, I do believe inefficiencies exist in this market, because some things people are not willing to do the work for because it is a freaking grind.
Right.
At least in the stock market, it's like set it and forget it. But if you are willing to grind things out, I've got a box here of Topps Now soccer cards that the first 10 were at a loss to me. And now every time somebody buys one, it's printing an $8 bill. If you, and the irony is, definitely not bragging. Believe me, family is not. We're stuck in an apartment for the next 20 years here in Beverly Hills.
It's because you live in Beverly Hills. That's why you're stuck in an apartment. If you
It's
were somewhere
kind of
else, not in Beverly Hills, you would probably be in a. You wouldn't be saying you're stuck in an apartment, more than likely, I bet.
Oh yeah, no, it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
We literally cannot afford to move at this point because of rent control.
Right.
And my wife's job is 6 blocks from us, so she can walk to work. And we're in a separate school district, so it's like we have a different school district now with the kids. Like, we cannot afford to move, and we've been here so long that now the stuff in the valley and in the other areas is actually more expensive than we're paying. But be that as it may, I probably don't need that $16 to $25 a week that I get from selling 3 Topps Now cards.
Right.
But I'm doing it as an exercise, and also because I see constantly people out there that are saying, how can I get there? How can I go to the next level? And we hate capitalism so much now, right? As a country, it's terrible. Well, no, capitalism is the fact that I'm going to get fired. Nobody looks at the color of your eBay profile, right?
Right.
Anybody can do it. Anybody can buy cards and sell cards anonymously online to grind out more money and improve their station in life. $25 to $50 a week. And yes, I upped it because I didn't tell you my 3 other cards that I'm doing that are printing $8 every time. But yeah, I'm making about $50 a week just doing that, going to the post office 4 times, printing 8 to 10 envelopes, that sort of thing.
Is Shizzler watching this right now?
I don't know.
I wonder if he's in the chat.
Is he struggling?
No. It's just this is again why I'd love to get you two on together. It would be gold, man.
But it's just like literally what, $50 a week. I'm gonna use my calculator right now. If you made an extra $50 a week,
what's 200 a month?
Weeks,
yep. Then
that's $2,600 a year. Would $2,600 a year change your life at all? Maybe it might not change it, but would it make things a little
Well, it
easier on
depends
you.
on how you approach or what you do with that money or what your approach is. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. It could, but then you could also, like we talked about earlier, spending money on dumb stuff. We could just spend more money on dumb stuff, right?
Well,
Ivan?
you could, but I'm just saying, like, if you are serious and like saying like people can't change their station in life,
Right.
again, also I'm being a little conservative here, not politically, but just on the numbers. Um, if I weren't buying diapers and weren't also getting my kids some Octonauts toys during quarantine, I probably could be clearing about 1 to 120 extra a week. If I didn't
Yeah.
have kids to take up so much time, I could probably up that to $200 a week just by having studied the markets for 4 or 5 years and at least identifying some of these things like Tops Now soccer cards, which I'll tell you why I got into them is because overseas doesn't have the same access during that window. They're only available for a little window. And as we even saw with Project 2020, people lead busy lives. How many people have you seen and how many people have I seen? But even how many people have you seen that have said, "Oh, I can't believe I forgot to buy that card. Now I got to go buy it
All
from
the
somebody
time.
after the
Yeah.
fact," right?
Yeah.
So imagine now you're overseas, you don't get all the alerts, you don't have all of that. Tops Now Soccer identified not even early enough. The very first Holland card is worth like $300. You could have bought that for 7 if you bought in bulk,
Wow.
4 if you bought in bulk, something like that. Nobody did, which is why it's worth $300 now.
Right.
But 10 of those would have changed your life. On the flip side, I bought 100 Hollands at $4 and I'm selling them for 14 and I've already sold enough to be out of the hole and be printing money every time I sell another one.
Right.
It's not
There's
300,
yeah,
but
and there's a lot of ways. I mean, like even if you look at how the market goes with the hobby, and you look at when anytime a product releases, right? Anytime a new product releases, when it's fresh, it's that first week, first couple days, first week or whatever. If you're getting the cards, you're opening them, you're getting into them, you're getting breaks, you're getting them quick enough, and you're listing them and selling them right then and there, you're getting a gain more times than not, because once it's been out for a couple weeks, right? Then it drops off. It's just like the go back to the beating the dead horse, the Topps 2020, right? The infamous cards that were selling for thousands of dollars and then just all of a sudden dropped, and people were getting eBay messages. I want to
well, so
return this card.
here's where I think I may disagree with the philosophy you were just saying is that I have seen even new products where that doesn't happen, where they don't go up. And on the flip side, if you're only playing the new product game
I'm not
and
saying
they do
necessarily
go
go
down
up.
that
I'm
much,
saying just selling like so when you rip them, you open them, they're fresh, they're new. You list them, you sell them. So you turn around and you sell them right away because you're gonna see what they sell for in that first week versus what they sell for 3 weeks later.
but what we've also discovered in the last 3 months is that eBay doesn't protect sellers against returns. So if you sell a
No,
card for 200 and
I
it goes
know
down to 100,
exactly.
you can easily get hit with a return. And I'm seeing more and more of that happening outside of Project 2020. A breaker I follow, 702 Breakers, had it happen with a Zion card. And it's
Right.
like, so that's why I actually would say that strategy that strategy is a little more hit or miss than finding things that don't have that people miss an access window on.
Well,
You
and the
know,
thing you
I
talk
don't
about
want to
on
give
the
away all my
pops.
secrets, but I've got another one
Hey,
that I really love that
hey,
one day I'll talk
Ivan,
about.
the thing you talk on the pops too, and it's almost a little bit of a plug I want to throw out there. But have you ever watched or seen classic pack breaks?
No.
Okay, just check them out sometime. They're interesting. They have a wide variety of, and they focus more on ripping packs, like hobby packs, right? So they have anything back from like the 60s, unopened
Mhm.
60s packs graded, all the way up to the current stuff. But when they're ripping the older packs, these packs, and they're going through them, they actually check and they bring up all those pops and stuff on the cards.
Mhm.
So like they're going through a cello pack or something of a 70 something, you'll actually see them while they're going through it. What's the card number? And they'll look and they'll actually say, "Hey, there's no graded on this, so there's a pop." So when you brought that up, it just kind kind of stuck in my brain like, hey, that's somebody that actually does that. They're actually paying attention to that.
Well, and that's smart because again, then that should like that's good marketing because
Right.
if I'm looking for a break of something classic like that, and I know I'm going to be fed some information during it, that's a no-brainer. I love
Right.
it. So that's pretty cool.
Check it out. Yep.
But yeah, but you could do the same because the other thing to keep in mind is that another inefficiency in this hobby is that even though antique stores are generally overpriced, again, if you're willing to do the work, if there's a collection out there, or if there is a, whether it's an antique store, a garage sale, or whatnot, we all know that we can find, we would look up if we found a box of 1971s in good condition, we would know that those are worth more, whereas nobody else would know if 71s, 72, 70, any of that.
Right.
So there are ways to educate yourself to make some money. I'm not saying necessarily get rich, but just saying have
more play
more
money,
interesting.
have more entertainment money, entertainment money, right? As we've been preaching a lot of the entertainment. I need to save $50 a week to get dental implants. Pepino's all over with the dental.
I don't think you want to read the chat right now.
Boom! I just figured out how to defeat Shiz. It's an investment to buy an eBay because you can just return it. It doesn't pan out. Guaranteed investment strategy. There you go. There you go, Guns. Hey, that's true. That is true. Set collectors are great lovers. There you go. Anybody else got any questions, or can we let Ivan move on with his duties to take some off of his some of the kid duties off of his wife's shoulders? Would recycle, protect foils. Yeah, I don't know.
So are you from Minnesota originally?
Yeah.
Like it's always
I
been
grew
home?
up in Minnesota. Yep, been here my whole life.
Nice. So Twins, Vikings.
Twins, Vikings, Wolves. Yep. If I were to hockey, I mean, I remember the days of the Stars, but again, I'm not a huge hockey fan, so I don't know. I'm not a big
Have you been
Wild
to a
guy.
game?
Yeah, I've been
through?
to. I've been to. I've been to when the North Stars were here. Yeah. My a little quick funny side story. One of my closest friends, my best friends, his dad or his stepdad's actually Jack Carlson, the Carlson brothers. Jack Carlson played on the North Stars. So, growing up, when I'd go over to his house, the old VHS players, there would be tapes, like VHS tapes of all of his fights. They would just send him on the ice to get into a fight. He was like 6'5", 6'6", just a monster. But yeah, I mean, hundreds of fights that he was in. He would just go on the ice to get into fights. That's what they'd bring him on the ice for.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting. You know why that is too, right?
What?
Like fighting in hockey is not like people think it's this like brute thing. It's not. It's actually, in some ways, it's a steam let off for people. Because if you've seen some of the worst things in hockey, it's the fact that those sticks are deadly weapons and skates are deadly weapons. And so fighting is like, hey, do not get so pent up and angry that you slash a guy with a stick, because that could literally like kill him or put him in a coma, that sort of thing. You could cut a guy's jugular with a hockey stick if you swung it the right way. Like drop them and fight it out and then go to timeout. Like it's literally a tension reliever.
But here's the other funny thing. They're always punching each other with their helmets still on. So they're punching, they're like breaking their hands and their knuckles, and they're punching their helmet like, hey, good idea. It's kind of like when the guy punches you, you just drop your head, right? So he hits you in the skull and just like.
Yep. Yeah. Well, hey, I am getting the text.
Hang on. Okay, Joel's got one question here. What players are y'all looking to invest in for the future? Do you got anyone that sticks out for you?
So because I have to, so wait, which side of the investment platform are we on here? Because I've been seeing some mocking of Sean.
Yeah, I know. Shiz has definitely made his presence without being here today. That's for sure.
So I can't tell if that's a true question or an ingest question.
No, I think it is. It's Can we get some VHS tapes? I remember Laserdisc. I play.
Because, okay, cool. Joel is making fun of y'all. Good. Because I think that then the only way I can answer that is, well, Diego Rossi, definitely invest in him. Invest in Chris Bryant. Who else do I own? Oh, wait. No, I mean, like, literally, again, my belief is that if you are speculating or prospecting, do it in a way that makes it fun for you.
Right.
Because you don't know something that. How many times have you seen the same joke on social media in the span of an hour when a news story breaks?
Oh yeah.
You know, we are not as unique of humans as we think, and if you think that 15,000 collectors on Twitter is a lot, 1/10 of collectors are on Twitter.
All right.
I go to card shows with 200 people and nobody knows who I am, and I'm fine with that. But like I'm glad that you guys know me. Nobody knows me out there. That's how big the hobby is. So if you've seen something that 3 other people have thought on Twitter, 30 other people have thought it and are already doing it too.
Oh yeah.
So that doesn't mean you can't make money, but it just means that there's no magic wand or formula out there, or nobody knows this about this guy.
Well, and again, anybody can get
unless
hurt.
you're literally sitting next to Zion and
right. Anybody can get hurt. Anything can happen to anybody. I mean, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying get hurt and like sprain an ankle and gonna be out 3 weeks. I'm saying like someone can do a levert and break a leg or any of those guys and be out for a while, and then that guy could have been a huge prospect, could have been a top player, and now gone, vanished.
And here's the thing: by the same logic, remember we were all saying, "Wow, people are overpaying for Zion. He's hurt right now." And then look, he came back in the league and almost put up, rookie of the year numbers despite playing.
And now he's shredded 25 pounds of fat and put on 10 pounds of muscle, and now he's just even more of a freak.
But so prices back then reflected all of the risk and reward of his injury proneness, and prices now have escalated. But that means that the room on them has encapsulated the idea that he's progressed.
Before you go, I want to touch off one more thing now that we're kind of pushing that side. So, like a Dominguez, right? Like a Wander Franco. Here's how I see these, right? How much more room, or is there any kind of cap, do you truly believe, in value on cards like Dominguez, like Franco? So, like what I'm getting at is like their Bowman, autos to chromed autos to 50 to 25 to 150, doesn't matter. The prices are way up here, right? They're kids that haven't even played in a major league game, okay? So my theory is that, yes, they could be good, they could be great, they could be the best at some point. In reality, though, if they meet expectations to where the bar is already set for them, if we're talking values on cards, do you really see... I mean, they have to do a lot. Don't you agree that they really have to do a lot when they actually get there for that to sustain or to even increase? Isn't the chances of someone like Ben dropping?
So if Wander Franco comes up next year and has a 40-40 season.
Yeah, but do you see it? I mean, do you see where the prices are already scaled? Do you really see them jumping that much more?
So that's the question: is what's the scale? Remember, I thought $200 for an Acuna. Well, there's no way he's going to meet that. Mookie Betts' auto is $200 right now, and he's in the bigs. Right. Chris Bryant's is $200 right now, and he's in the bigs. So how much higher can this Acuna go?
But what I'm getting at is but see, Acuna was a different character because Acuna was a guy that you could buy for next to nothing.
Well, yes, but back then, no, $200 wasn't next to nothing. That's my point. Is in 2017, in the fall of 2017, $200 was a lot back then. The scale has gone up relative. Luka last year has been eclipsed by Zion this year, which has led Luka's last year cards that we all were saying $700 for a silver prism. That's ridiculous. And now where are they? I'm going to have to do a little
look it up
look
quick
to see exactly, but Luka silver prism PSA 10. $3,400 at auction. 2 days left. $3,400. And I could have gotten that card for $700 a year ago right now, probably. In fact, let's go to Terapeak. Let's go to the tape. Let's see what the cheapest was that card was.
Simon says.
Oh, I got to log out and log into my other. You caught me while I was in my burner.
I'm sorry. I tried to get you off here, too, and now we're like... Now I'm going to get you in trouble. Oh, wait, I already probably did.
Because the text was they ate dinner already, right? And the answer was no, they didn't eat what I tried to give them earlier. So yeah, so I'm going to be in trouble either way. That's fine. Give me 2 minutes because my my LastPass is messing up. Got a 2-factor verify, blah blah blah. But yeah, I remember last summer, right before or right at the National, making a joke on Twitter. It's out there somewhere if you really want to find it.
I just have a hard time seeing, personally, Wander or Dominguez doing what they need to do to sustain or even increase when they actually get the opportunity, like when it's play opportunity, not just based off of what the market's going after.
I sorted this the wrong way because I sorted it by cheapest, which means I'm getting all the fake listings. But let me sort it by age. June 7th of last year, red, white, and blue. Where's this regular silver prism? Come on, guys. Don't let me down. Emergent. Okay, so I was actually a little bit off on that specifically, but still. So last June 8th, 2020. No, wait. June 8th of 2020. Sorted by 30 days, not 365. Sorry. See, it's a science. This is the kind of work you can do to actually find inefficiencies. Okay, here you go. Yeah. You want to crap yourself? July 8th, 2019. Guess what a Panini Prism Silver number 280 Luka Doncic not fast break. That's the next line. Mavericks rookie card. Wait, is that fast breaks? Which one is the right one?
It'd be the regular. Just this.
Yeah,
You're talking about the Prism Silver?
Yeah. What's the card number on the Luka Prism Silver? Because this one just says 280. It doesn't say if it's fast breaker. Yeah, 280. Yeah, card number 280. Yep. Rookie card PSA 10 sold for a year ago.
A PSA 10?
Yep. What are the guesses? I want to see these guesses.
PSA 10. So a Luka Silver PSA 10. What do you guys think it sold for? I'm going to say a year ago. I'm going to say PSA 10 Luka. Probably $600. Jimmy's saying 35. We're talking a PSA Silver,
just
Jimmy.
Trolling.
Yeah.
Jimmy's drunk.
Put down the Pendleton. It's only Monday.
Yeah, we haven't even sold the card yet.
All right.
$515 at auction.
$515. I was close.
Bids. You want to know what one sold for?
Well, I'd say
on July 5th of this year with 48 bids at auction? $3,450. Now, Jeff, I'm going to fall on the sword on this one. I'm not going to ask if you felt this way. Last year, when I saw them going for $700 in some cases, I said, that card has nowhere to go. I said that. I don't know how you would have felt at $700, but I said that. And you know what else is crazy? I actually unearthed a gem the other day, right after watching JB, Old Town Cards' interview with Gary Vaynerchuk. YouTube just rolled over into a new video, and so I was watching it, and it was a video that Gary did in April of last year, when he was talking to Wale, the rapper, and he happened to have a Giannis rookie near him, and he said, "You know what the new shoes are?" Like 7 minutes into the interview, they were talking about how much recording costs, and he said, "You know what the new sneakers are? Sports cards." And he said, "I guarantee you, in 5 years, this card will be an $800 card." Giannis base silver PSA 10 or base PSA 10. I think it was
It's
non-silver.
already there.
Yeah, he said in 5 years it'll be $800.
Yeah.
And so I went and Googled and went on eBay. Of course, there was one at $3,000 at auction right then, a year later.
Yeah.
So even
I sold I sold a
bull
base
cannot predict.
non-silver for like $80, like 6-8 months ago.
Yep. So that's why I just say, like, I cannot say with definity that that Wander Franco, if he comes up and has a 40-40 season, what if he has back-to-back 40-40 seasons? And we talked about the macroeconomics of hobbies in general and our hobby in particular. What if our hobby doubles? Let's just say it doubles by that time. So you've got more new money coming in, generally more comfortable money, in a lot of instances. You've got, what if there was a Nat Turner of baseball? You know Nat Turner, right? You've followed him?
Nat Turner?
Yeah.
Nat Turner.
So he's the guy who has popularly bought many of the largest LeBron and Michael Jordan cards.
Oh, okay.
He created a healthcare tech company and sold it for $1 billion. Now, I'm sure he didn't get all $1 billion of that because that's how those things work. But
is he the one that had the Mike Trout, like the $750,000 Mike Trout or whatever card, and you know what I'm talking about? The Chrome.
I think you might be thinking of
auto.
Vegas Dave. Vegas Dave was the one that bought
a
bunch of stuff and was like promoting it. So
No,
Nat Turner, he's a cool guy, a real collector. But it's like if you had $300 million fall into your lap,
right,
you'd go out and buy every Kirby Puckett autographed card that's in existence, right?
Right.
So basically, you've got that going on in basketball with him publicly, and I'm sure 2 or 3 other collectors at the least privately. What if you had 3 or 4 more billionaires or 100 millionaires come into baseball cards in the next 2 years, and you've got 30, 40,000 more general collectors step in, and Wander Franco comes up and has 2 40-40 seasons?
Right. No, I get that. I guess, so why did I ask the question, right? That's what you're going to say. But what I'm getting at is, like, when we scale, I think when we're looking at the scale of these players, I mean, Wander and Dominguez are these 2 guys where their prices are already through the roof.
What roof, though?
Well, without them playing any actual MLB games or anything, I mean, to me, it's ridiculous.
And I'm not arguing with that.
Like,
to me, it's ridiculous.
So what I'm saying is, when they actually play, I mean, they have to exceed, in my opinion, they have to exceed expectations for it to sustain or to increase.
Which I also agree with. But I'm saying they could.
It
could, and more new money and more wealthy money could come into the hobby and support that floor, support that growth. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Now, do I think that will happen? I don't know. I haven't seen either of them swing a bat. I've been told that Wander has the fastest swing ever, but I haven't seen him, so I couldn't tell you if it will. But I just can understand how it could happen now, after analyzing this for quite some time and being very much on the, I can't justify $200 on an Acuna, right?
No, I got you.
You know?
We got to spend way more. We got to spend way more than $200 though to get that Dominguez or that Wander.
Yeah, but all things are relative.
Right.
It's $2,000 today is different than $200 in this hobby, or is actually somewhat relative, I should say, to $200 in this hobby 4 years ago. And I can say that because Zion hit at 3 times what Luka cost when he hit. You know, I can say that because Giannis is worth 8 times what he was worth last year. Like, there has been an explosion of new money, exposure, people willing to spend money on it. And so, relatively speaking, $2,000 today is not that different from 204 years ago. It's different, but not that different. Especially when you factor in, could the hobby still grow?
On my end, I'm more of a take a shot at you know, like you're prospecting, not prospecting the guys that everybody's pointing to and the values are high up on. Taking the guys that are lower end and hoping somebody becomes a Pete Alonso or somebody else like that.
And that's fun too. And that's the other reason why I say,
Right.
if you're not worth $300 million, budget this, think it out, create a strategy, have a plan, know when to stop. But you know where you're right. I can think of an example last year where a card went from $1 to $100 overnight. If by overnight you mean 2 weeks.
Which card?
Aristides Aquino.
Oh yeah.
His Bowman Chrome autograph
Aquino
from 2014 was $2 and was 120, 140 when he went on that home run streak when he first got called up.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it is out there, and it's a fun way to collect if you like doing that. Just, always, if you do that, I recommend you don't do that the hard way, which is buying $300 boxes to pull the $2 auto to then hold and hope that it gets up to 150.
Right.
So.
All right, I'm going to let you get going, man. You've given way more than enough time. We're almost approaching 2 hours now. See what happens? We get to that hour mark, and I'm like, you give me an hour of your time, Ivan. Can we just do a few Q&As? And then now we are almost approaching 2 hours. So, man, I really got you in trouble.
No, it was super fun, and she actually has not texted me anything negative. The biggest problem was that
I know, but like you said, she'll
because I
let
tried
it
to give
go.
them Del Taco,
Yeah.
and then it turns out that apparently, they didn't actually eat the Del Taco, and I forgot to communicate that to her. So,
oh well.
She's like, "Oh, they told me they ate." I'm like, "Yeah."
So before we head out of here, it's your interview, it's your show. Is there any last words you want to say to the audience?
No, I just want to say to you, Jeff, thank you. This was a lot of fun. I'm really glad we were able to make it work. Thank you for being flexible with me on time, and
Absolutely.
Thank you to your family for making time for me.
And I want to thank you, Ivan, for coming on the show. Again, guys, if you're looking for any of his links, you don't follow him, you don't know where his eBay store is, you don't know where to go to find GoGTSLive when he's there Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Make sure you guys go check it out. Give him a follow, check his store out, buy some cards from him. And until next time, guys, it's been fun. We'll see you soon. Keep it fun and keep it positive. Good night.